So for the very first time, I noticed that there is a video editor just a bit below the webcam capture thing that I usually see. If I knew how to use that, I would definitely enjoy being able to spice up my videos a bit or make them a bit more interesting and you know their presentation, because most people have such fancy videos and they go from flash to flash and thing to thing, and then they add, and they have like really high quality cameras and blah blah blah. Anyway, just to say, I wish I could be a bit more high. I wish I could be a bit more high tech, and I've always been a bit slow. I've never really been up to speed with technological things. I've always been 4 or 5 years behind everyone else in relation to everything. Um, I, me and Microsoft Word and I just really do not get along. I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing inside Word. No idea. Anyway, just a random aside, I would like to speak about my Paris trip this time. That was one of the four main goals that I had for 2014. And I went back, and there are actually so many things I could say that probably I couldn't do any of them all justice in a 4 or 5 minute video. In fact, I probably would have to speak for 12, and I would really like to not have to do that. So, yeah, just very briefly put, I have a huge flight. I have a huge flight of fear. I have a huge fear of flights. I really dislike flying. Every time I'm in a plane and I'm up in the sky, and I just think, really don't. This is really not the place I would like to die. I'm just terrified of death in general, but for some reason, dying from crashing to my death in a plane is just among the ones I would like the least. And I know it's an irrational fear, but it's a fear I have anyway. Thankfully, obviously, I landed safely and I got back to Lisbon safely. Um, and then in relation to the flights, it was a Spanish flight, so I have a thing against Spanish. Uh, in Paris, well, a friend of mine who was supposed to host me canceled on me. He ditched me, basically, saying the day before, I can't host you, I'm sorry, but you have to find other arrangements. Money for me is scarce. I had just enough to, eat while I was there, but the goal wasn't really to, be having to spend on a hostel every day. Thankfully, I had a couple other friends who were visiting, and they let me stay in their hotel with them. But I still had to get a hostel for the first day I was there, and then for the last day, thankfully, I found a really cheap hostel, just 25 a day. And honestly, the place was awful. The place was really the pits. But still, for 25 euros, 50 euros total for 2 days, could have been worse. Anyway, those were all like the complete worst parts of the trip. The rest was completely incredible, and in fact, probably I can just summarize it very quickly by saying that I had a day in which I visited 7 churches and cathedrals, which is beautiful. I spent a lot of time downtown, a lot of time along the Seine, a lot of time trying to speak French and talking to people, being a lot more open and talkative than I usually am with people. I went and saw Musée d'Orsay. I saw le Musée de l'Orangerie. I saw both of them were great museums, especially Orsay. A lot of time in the gardens. Spending a lot of time on the buses, metros. Great meals, great food too. I tried crepes from Café Brège, which is in Le Marais. Then I had great steak frites somewhere. Those are my gastronomic experiences. Oh, and of course I had a wine tour. It was complete by accident. My 2 friends were going, and I accompanied them to the place, but I was gonna leave them there. But having left my phone, I asked them and realized that I'd forgotten my phone. I asked them, so how are we gonna meet up? Blah blah blah. How are we gonna arrange this? And then the lady in there asked me, so come join us. What are you doing? And then I said, but I don't have any money. And then she said, well, we're opening bottles, and you're more than free to join us, because people had canceled. So I was able to take advantage. I got really lucky for that one. Then, I spent a lot of time on my own. just kind of walking around. And for the first time, usually when I'm in Lisbon or just in general walking around, I'm always listening to music, but this time I didn't do any music. I was just, doing my thing, just listening to people, and I heard some wonderful conversations. I heard some marvelous stuff. Like, for example, these two American girls were speaking, and this is probably not YouTube appropriate, but I heard them speaking about, really graphically, about guys and sex, and basically, long story short, they were saying how awful guys were. They're all assholes, and most of them are really bad in bed with small penises. But then they started talking about good experiences they had. One of them in particular saying how she loved it so much, being pounded for an hour, that she couldn't stand afterwards, and she was having like convulsions, things like that. And me, I'm like, just like trying not to laugh. Um, those two were a riot, really. Those two were wonderful. I've never heard girls be that honest before, so that was pretty cool. And then yeah, honestly, for me the best part was the very last day, just having an epic 3-hour walk along the at sunset along the river, walking through Champs-Élysées, going through downtown, just looking at the sunset, and it was just a really beautiful moment because it was nice weather, there was a bit of breeze, really gorgeous light and reflections of light from the water, trees, and in particular a light from a ship which turned all the green of the trees orange and everything else. And it was just so beautiful, and it was a really beautiful moment. And for me, that was probably the best thing of my trip. And I was really sad to have to leave, and I had such a wonderful time. It was such a great personal experience, and I feel like in some way I became a better person and a stronger one because of that. And I think that was one of the best experiences of my life. In terms of personal ones too, just for sure up there. Especially because when I went to Paris before, I didn't have such a high opinion of the city, but this time I really, really understood it a bit better and liked it a lot. So that was my time in Paris, and now I'm back in Lisbon. I'm fucking up on all my tests, really procrastinating. C'est la vie. So, gonna head off now. I had my 2 videos for this evening. I'll try not to delete them. I don't think I will, because I'm so happy for my teeth too. These are like my first instances of being able to show off my new teeth. So yeah, thank you for listening for both of these videos. If you have, appreciate it very much, and até a próxima.